Here's a quick tour of my water fed pole setup. Things have changed since the last video I did about 8 years ago. I used to use just a Culligan mixed bed tank that I rented. I've since moved up to the Washit Pro and a tank-based system. So starting from, I'll do it like I did the last video, starting from the house, if I were to need to fill up the tank while on the job, I would run the garden hose to this, plug in there, which will run through the Washit Pro here, and then it'll dump into the tank. When I'm ready to use the water to clean windows, I come out here, I turn the flow controller on, then the water gets pulled from the tank through this pump, which I have mounted here, into the hose reel, and then I just pull out. I have about 300 feet of hose on here. I got a shut-off valve here, and I can just quickly plug into the brush right here. Right now I'm using a 40-foot Phoenix facelift pole. I love it. I love the brush that it came with. But I have to say I'm loving this setup that John Lee from Window Cleaning Resource set me up with. That's a 50-gallon tank I'm using. Now I do residential. If I were to do commercial where water may not be as accessible or available, I would probably want to move up to maybe a 60, 70, even 100-gallon tank. But for residential, 50-gallon tank, I find that I can get through at least a house, if not several houses with 50 gallons. Obviously it depends on the size of the house. But as I'm using it, I can just hook up to the customer spigot and fill up the tank as I go. It's a great setup. What happens if the battery runs out? Sometimes there's the battery right there. If I forget to charge the battery, I do have jumper cables. Unfortunately, I don't have the battery hooked up to the van, so it won't charge while I'm driving. But I do have jumper cables, and there's been a couple of times that I've needed to hook up the jumper cables to it to get through a job, but it's no problem. Once a week I bring in the battery to charge. This setup right here is so great, so efficient, very economical. I highly recommend it. And most of the items I bought, the Washit Pro, the pump, the flow controller, I bought from Window Cleaning Resource.